Hello again. Welcome back to the Backpack Composer. I'm Will. So last week we talked about SUNO AI. And while the video itself was specific to SUNO, the concepts are global in that, one, there are people who will just type a prompt into an AI music software and call the end product their intellectual property, and we agreed that this is wrong. And I will say that upon further research, the music industry as a whole feels that it is wrong, and steps have been taken to prevent the theft and or dishonesty amongst artists. That being said, I also mentioned last week that we were going to be doing some upgrades. That's done. In maybe the second or third video, showed my Digitech S-Drum pedal. It lets you play a drum beat on your guitar or bass, and then it loops the drum beat, which is cool if you are looking to do a lot of impromptu stuff. But in the spirit of true scratch padding, it doesn't work. You need something that will let you recreate the same thing over and over so that you can fine-tune it. And on a pedal that is designed to give you an impromptu drum part, you will never get the same thing twice unless you're recording it. I got the Loop Studio. At the time, I didn't know that the Loop Studio was made by the same company as the BeatBuddy, and when I found this out, it was a must-have. And just as I was getting ready to purchase it, I found out that the BeatBuddy 2 was coming out in October. And so I waited. It came last Sunday. I've been playing around with it all week. I have finally gotten it all set up. Here's what I like about the BeatBuddy 2. If you have the Loop Studio, you can set it up so that the BeatBuddy 1 or 2 controls the Loop Studio, and the Loop Studio itself acts more as just a multi-track recorder, and the BeatBuddy is the play, pause, and stop button, as well as the part changer. So the way I have it set up is my guitar goes into the preamp. The preamp goes into the effects unit. The effects unit goes into the MPC key 37, but there's a reason for this. The Akai itself is optional. I could go effects straight into the Loop Studio, but by going into the Akai first, I can basically add in instruments that are not the guitar to my loops. And I'll show you all that in a second. And then from the Akai, it will go into the Loop Studio, and then the audio from the BeatBuddy is going into the aux in of the Loop Studio, and then the aux in only goes out from the aux out, while the main in, the Akai, goes out from the main out and the aux out. So in the live setting, I can turn the main in off of the aux out, and I'll have 2 channels for drums and then 2 channels for whatever it is I'm looping. Or I can have everything go into the 2 channels, and the BeatBuddy has its own volume knob that I can control with an expression pedal. Right now, that's the setup, and there's wiggle room to adjust on the fly without taking the whole pedal board apart. Here's how all of this plays out before I get into the demonstration. If I have a song idea, I can say, all right, it's in this style of music. And we already talked about how your style determines your chord progression. So I can say it's in this style of music. And then I can pick that drum pattern. The BeatBuddy, for every one style, has, I think it's 7 patterns, and for every pattern, it has 2 parts. So a main part and a second part. And then it also has an intro and an outro. So we have 4 drum parts. And then I have it set up so that the arrows doesn't kick in until after the intro, and it shuts off before the outro. So everything in between I can control via the BeatBuddy. The BeatBuddy only has 2 buttons. BeatBuddy makes a 6-button MIDI controller that doesn't mess with the arrows at all. It only controls the BeatBuddy, and then the BeatBuddy itself controls the arrow. And what this does is it says I can speed up or slow down my loops while they're playing. And I can change parts without having to reach down and start messing with all of the buttons. So I have a total of 10 buttons, and all of them do a thing. And there's still some little surprises they left in there for when you just need that extra something. So let me demonstrate how all of this works. First, let me show you what I did to my keyboard. So within the MPC Key 37, I set up a new project and I set up 4 audio tracks. The first one is for the guitar, and it's coming out of the preamp on the pedal board, and it's just a compressor and an equalizer just to give me a very full tone. Second one is a copy of the first, but with an octaver. So if I'm ever somewhere where I can only bring 2 things, a keyboard and a guitar, I can turn the guitar into a bass. So that's what the octave does. The third channel is the channel for whatever plugin I use on the MPC. And then the 4th channel is actually a copy of the first one with different compression settings, and that's the one I use to play my melody. So I just save that, and whenever I need to use the looper, this is the program I use. So now let's move some stuff around again. All right, we have the BeatBuddy 2. This expression pedal controls the volume of the BeatBuddy 2. When it's all the way down, it's set at half. When it's all the way up, it's set to full. So I can kind of simulate a drummer getting louder or quieter just with my foot. This expression pedal over here actually controls the Fender Tone Master Pro multi-effects unit up there. And this Fishman preamp is just because my guitar itself doesn't have a preamp built in. And it's got a bass switch on it too. I do have an acoustic bass that I rarely use. The MIDI Maestro controls the BeatBuddy, and then the BeatBuddy controls the Loop Studio. The Loop Studio saves everything to an SD card. So once I get my scratch-padded idea done, I can pull the individual loops off the song and drop them straight into GarageBand or Logic Pro. So let's just mess around with something real quick. As we said last week, your style determines your chord progression. And it actually does more than that. Your style is actually going to determine your chord progression, your tuning, the type of instrument you use. Like if you're doing acoustic stuff, obviously you're not going to use an electric guitar. Or if you're doing heavy metal stuff, obviously you're not going to use an acoustic. So style determines all of that. So right now, let's say my style is hard rock. So on the BeatBuddy, if I want a hard rock sound, I can click this, and let's say I want metal. And then once I have that, I can hit this switch over here, and I get 14 different patterns. All 14 of them have 2 parts. So right now I have heavy metal. Now, when I hit play here, it's going to do the intro, but then the Loop Studio is immediately going to start recording. I have my guitar in DADGAD tuning, and there's a reason for this. I've been getting into alternate tunings lately, and I have found that all of them serve various purposes. So I can use my MIDI controller to tap my tempo. And what you don't see happening in the background is when I tap the tempo on the BeatBuddy, it's actually changing the auto quantize on the Loop Studio. So now no matter what I do, it's going to stay in time when it loops. So if I hit my intro button, it's going to give me 4 beats to get my tempo. So you see the BeatBuddy knows, or the BeatBuddy is just playing, but if I pause the BeatBuddy, it also paused the Loop Studio. Unpause the BeatBuddy, it doesn't auto-pause the Loop Studio. I have to actually hit play myself because that's just the way I have it set up. But it's still synced. And then if I say, all right, that part's done, go to the next part, you see how it switched to record the next part? And not only did it switch, so it's recording on this top line here, but the next part is actually these lines, the circles on the side. So this is really hard to do while talking. So I'm going to start it over. But basically what it did was it saved the first part, and now it's recording a brand new one with the new drum part. And then when I say play, it saves that. And when I go back to the previous part, that's what we just played. So if I say stop, it stops both in time. So now let me actually do this for real so it looks like I know what I'm doing. So to clear the Loop Studio, you just hold down, play, stop. So I start my intro. First, I'm going to turn my drums all the way up because I want them loud. So everything is locked in right now. It sounds decent. So now, let's say I want to add some other parts to this. So my bass, I don't have bass. We're going to pretend I don't own a bass and I'm just going to do the octave. All right. Next track. So we have 2 guitar parts and a bass part right now. But now, let's say this isn't enough. I'm going to take the guitar, I'm just going to put it away. And we're going to come over to our keyboard. And let's say I want some strings. So I've picked some strings. I think I'm in D. All right, there are my strings. It'll tell me when to come in. So it's auto-quantizing everything for me. Everything is synced up. So now, this is still just the first part. What happens when I go to the next part? On the MIDI Maestro, there's a next part button. So there are my strings. I'm going to do this one in reverse order. So I have strings already. Now I want to do my bass. I'm just feeling it out. So it's auto-quantizing because my click was a little late, but I have strings and bass. No, I think I'm feeling an ambient guitar here. So now I wait for the loop to come back around again. I say next track, it'll tell me when to start. Alright, I saw it auto-quantized. I don't know if you noticed it, it did stretch the loop. So now the guitar part is done again. So now, I said that there's a couple extra surprises in there. I can still do my fills, and you see it doesn't mess with the rhythm, but I can also just start adding weird things, like a snare. I'm just adding in random snare hits, and it's not messing with the loop at all. Same with the kick. So now, what if I want to go back to my first part? There it is. It saved the whole thing, kept it in time, kept it untouched. It's not messing with anything. So now, in a live setting, I can pull my guitar back out, or I can sing, whatever you want. The live setting, I can take all of this and just start having fun with it. And then when I'm done, the whole thing shuts off. And the beauty of the Loop Studio is it will just save this. So when I'm ready to drop it into Logic, I just pull the memory card out and put it into my hub. And all 6 parts are in their own folder, individual tracks, so it doesn't mix them down for me. And I can still do my normalizing, my leveling, my mixing, my automating, my mastering, and we're good to go. But now, enter what we talked about last week. I showed you how to just take what you did and drop it into SUNO. And just now, I showed you how to record. There was 3 in the main one and then 2 in the second one, plus the solo. So we're looking at just under a dozen different parts. I can mix them down with no leveling, just mix them straight down, and then drop that into SUNO and basically say, make this into something. All the parts that went in are original, so I own the output that SUNO gives me. There's no ethical violations there. Or I could drop them into Logic, do it all by hand, which usually is what I do. But now with this idea of SUNO, I could technically do both. I could drop everything raw into Logic, get it to sound the way I like, drop it into SUNO as well, pull the parts out that I didn't think of myself, and add them to my Logic project, because at the end of the day, the imagination is limited to what it knows. You don't know what you don't know. And if something somewhere is willing to sort of make suggestions for you, as long as suggestions are based in original thoughts, it is not unethical, it is just supplemental. And as I said last week, that's what's going to happen in a professional studio setting anyway. If you don't know how to play an instrument, and so you hire somebody to play it for you, whatever they play is not necessarily your idea. It's based in your idea, and you are paying them to let you have it, and you, in most settings, will have to give them song credits depending on what the change is. But it's the same thing, except SUNO is not a person, thus it does not have to get credit, unless, of course, you get the free version where they say they own it just as much as you do, but that's unimportant. Let me just play with this idea that we just recorded, and I'll be back. All right, so I'm digging that, and we did all of that right here live with a looper. Again, it's not a sponsored video, but if you don't follow Singular Audio on social media, I highly suggest it, because they have a series with the Loop Studio where it's just people showing what they use theirs for. There's guitarists, there's keyboard players, there's synth players, like people are doing some pretty cool stuff with this, and I didn't find out about it until I'd already paid the close to $700 for the pedal. Anyway, until next week, may your gear be light, your latency low, and your dogs quiet while you track vocals.